Okay, welcome back everyone to another episode of FECG TV, which stands for the Fisher Educational Group Television Channel. For those that are just joining us for the first time, just a quick overview of what the channel is. Our channel is a product of the Fisher Educational Consulting Group. The channel's purpose is to specifically focus on and lift the voices of educators, but not just educators, specifically underrepresented voices. So women of color, and people of color. Also, we take this time to host and interview specific, very effective educators in their field to highlight and talk about how they address contemporary issues in the field of education. Today, we have a wonderful guest, Mrs. Latoya Hall King, who is a turnaround principal. I know her personally, and I can say that she's one of the best that's done it, that's ever did it. So I'm glad that she could find some time to join us on this. We usually do these things on Saturdays, so weekends are her only recovery time. So the fact that she's dedicating some of this time to us, I'm so thankful. For those of you that are joining us, again, let's just go over the format. Our interviews tend to last about 30 minutes, and we tend to ask our guests 6 to 10 questions. In this case today, we're going to go with 6 questions because most of the questions have 2 parts. And I know Principal King, she's very detail oriented, so we're going to get thorough answers. Before we go any further, Principal King, how are you doing today? Welcome.
I am doing very well. Thank you so very much, Mr. Fisher. Thank you for inviting me here this afternoon to talk with you and your viewers and to be a part of the Fisher Educational Group uh, in terms of this podcast.
Wow, thank you. And feel free to call me Sean. You know, the greatness lies with you. So I'll call you Principal King. You can call me Sean. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So you ready to jump into it?
Absolutely.
Okay. So our first question. Tell us a little bit about you, both professionally and personally, and what led you to this work.
Well, professionally, I've been an educator for over 25 years, 16 of those as an administrator. In addition to being an educational administrator, I have served in the capacity of a consultant at the state level as well as the national level. Um, for the state, I have done work for the Michigan Association of School Principals, secondary school principals, doing curriculum audits for districts across the state. And at the national level, working for the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards as a trainer and content validator for over a decade. And, you know, I just enjoy the work. I've come to do the work by experiences over time, seeing what's necessary, being a very dedicated educator, coming from a family of educators as well. Um,
Wow.
Many of the years that I have spent as an educator have been in economically disadvantaged schools. So that is one of the things that has led me to do the turnaround work. And that is due to the fact that there is always a need for improvement and achievement within those schools. And it's something that's necessary in order for us to progress.
Wow. Thank you for that great answer. Also, I might add, you're a parent as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, yeah, definitely our audience needs to know that. So, she's mastered the ability to balance, or we never fully master it, but home life and work. So, I'm certain that a lot of what you do is motivated by being a parent. Like what you do is what you want to see happen for your children as well.
For sure, for sure.
All
Um,
right.
that's a definite. Of course, having my own biological children. Personally, I'm a wife and mother of 2 girls. I'm a girl mom, um, and an active life member of my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Um, but all of the children who I have come in contact with as an educator over the years are my children, and I have developed a love and affection for making sure that not only my biological children, but all of those children who I come in contact with in my professional life are successful. And I think it's, a duty and responsibility to make sure that we give of ourselves and give everything um, that's necessary in order to allow and provide uh, what's needed for those students to be successful. So, for sure, that is something that is a driving force in the work that I do on a daily basis.
Definitely. I thought so. I couldn't let you move on without answering that part. I knew it. That's part of your why.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. So let me go ahead and let's go ahead and move to the next question.
Mhm.
I feel like you tapped on us a little bit, but let's go a little bit more in depth. Tell
Okay.
us, yep, tell us about your why. What motivates you and what drives you? You kind of touched on it before, but you
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
specifically.
The why is, you know, the work that I do is because that I feel like all children deserve an opportunity. And if not me, then who? And I've been equipped with skills and experiences over the years that allow me to do the work. And I look at it as an obligation to help others. And I think, um, oftentimes children need those advocates and individuals who are fighting for them to be um, able to do everything that they can do, be the best that they can be. And sometimes, um, you know, based on backgrounds, family dynamics, societal issues, usually sometimes those students only get that opportunity at school, and they have to have dedicated loving educators who are um, in it to see them win it. And that's my why.
Thank you. Very succinct and to the point. I like that. Thank you. So, this interview is about turnaround work. So, I want to go to the best, which I consider you to be one of. Tell me, in your own definition, what do you consider turnaround work? What is turnaround work?
Well, turnaround work is where you have to um, actually just really roll up your sleeves and take a deep dive into where all of the challenges lie within an educational experience, and turn those things around and make it to where the ability and um, the focus, the vision, everything related to that educational experience is from a different perspective that allows for improvement, achievement, and overall success over a period of time. There are many dynamics and um various different factors that play a key role in why there is a need for turnaround. Um, and each building is different. District is different based on the demographic makeup or the population of students that are being serviced. However, it requires some deep analysis in terms of what those factors are. Um, Taking a look at data over time and seeing where the needs are, where those deficiencies are, and what's necessary in order to turn things around. And you definitely need a visionary person who is at the helm in terms of leading that work, but you also need a team of individuals who have that same focus and drive and understand the vision in order to carry that work out.
Thank you. So, what I'm hearing you say is a lot about equity. That's the
Mhm.
first thing.
Oh,
And
for
then the
sure.
need, yep. And then the need for technical expertise. So,
Mhm.
not just, or so let me back up some actually. The need for equitable vision,
Mhm.
and then the need for technical expertise to carry out the vision.
Yeah.
Yep. So actually, let's build off of that. This wasn't one of the questions, but actually, you know what? You led us down an awesome trail. So I'm going to ask this question.
Okay.
when building that team, because what I heard in your last answer was the principal can't do it by themselves.
Absolutely.
Yep. So how do you build out your team? How do you build out that capacity?
One, making sure that you have an understanding of what's needed, and being able to take a look at individuals and the particular skill sets that they bring to the table, where they have, expertise in areas that are a part of those challenges, and where they have the ability to make the necessary change. So allowing for them to utilize those skills and share, uh, you know, making sure that you have relationships with those individuals and you understand, um, you know, what they can do, allow them to do that, and make it a collaborative effort amongst the team where everyone has, uh, you know, specific roles, duties, and responsibilities that contribute to that overall vision, and making sure that the focus is attaining that goal. So, for sure, being able to network and build relationships with other educators, and being able to have an eye to see where those skill sets are that individuals have that you want to tap into, and make them a part of that team. But for sure, being able to share your vision, and making sure that that's a shared vision amongst those team members so that the work can be done.
So remember that communication piece. 'Cause I'm gonna come back to that later on.
Okay.
But one of the prime things that I lifted from your answer was it's almost like backwards design or backwards planning.
Hmm.
So you conduct that comprehensive needs assessment. You figure out what the needs are. Then you divide those up into maybe jobs, and you start looking at people's skill sets and assign them to those tasks.
Absolutely.
Okay. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure you have some kind of progress monitoring that goes on as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Okay.
that's how you do these things effectively. You have to go in, you have to observe, you have to analyze, then you have to plan. After you've planned, you have to implement. You have to definitely monitor the progress of the implementation, and then you have to evaluate it to see if what's being done is effective enough to make the change that you want to see. And then continuously monitoring that progress to see if there is a need for change in the implementation, if you have to um, go back and revisit some things, change some things, add to or take away, whatever the case may be, but making sure that you are looking at the overall picture. And like you said, beginning with the end in mind, looking at where you're trying to get to and putting the necessary measures in place, um, you know, along that outline to make sure that you're getting there. And as you are doing so, making sure that along the way, um, you're taking note of what's actually happening, where the change has taken place, where the improvements are actually happening, or if they aren't, what needs to be in place to make those improvements.
Wow. Thank you. That was a great answer. You stated that much more eloquently than I could ever imagine or hope to do. So, wow. Thank you. In our first four questions, you've answered the textbook definition of turnaround work, and you kind of given us a playbook.
Mhm.
So for those out there listening, I'm going to push you a little bit further because they have the definition, they have the playbook, but what happens when it doesn't work? What are some of the barriers that you experience in
Oh,
turnaround work?
absolutely. And I can say
And
in
actually, let me be more
order.
specific. I'm sorry not to cut you off. Let me push in there. The question would be, what are the greatest barriers to turnaround work? Maybe just two or three if you want to give us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I can honestly say the two greatest barriers to turnaround work are autonomy and access. Not having the autonomy to do what's best for students, to turn schools around due to organizational constraints, or um, policies and procedures that are in place that are of a one size fits all. type approach, and not having access uh, for the necessary resources and supports to do the actual work and make successful progress, but not being able to be on a level playing field. And that is a huge barrier, because those are the things that are needed not only for those that are doing the work, but those that are in it, that are trying to make that progress. And
Mm,
without that autonomy and that access, those are the things that can somewhat hinder or stall the progress that can be made. And um, it's a critical component of being able to put things in place that can effectively make change. So, for sure, just having that ability to do so, those are the two greatest barriers.
wow, thank you so much. Our future viewers they're getting a great lesson today. We should have this is going to debut nationally, so we should have in the next 3 years half of the schools that are not being successful, they should be turned around just based off this video. Yeah, I'll make sure
Well,
that.
they definitely need those resources and supports in place, but they also need to be able to do so. And I think the way organizations are set up, that is one of the huge barriers that uh, kind of confines um, leaders into not being able to turn things around and do what's necessary, because they may have all of the knowledge, all of the you know supports that are in place. They may have the key team members in place, but if they aren't uh, having that ability to make the necessary decisions, and they have to do things the way an organization puts things in place, that can hinder the progress that can be made.
Thank you. So we're going to shift slightly and just delve down a little bit deeper into some of the individual components or foundations for effective turnaround work, as
Mhm.
I understand. So I'm looking at you as the subject matter expert, so feel free to correct me if my questions are a little askew. So, how important is family engagement to your work as a turnaround principal?
Well, family engagement is a key component in the overall education of students. However, sometimes that can be a hindrance as well, depending on um, what family dynamics are in place for students. Um, the bottom line is students need support no matter where they get it from. Of course, when you have family engagement and students are able to receive the necessary support that they need in school and receive that same support at home, it gives them more of an advantage and an opportunity to grow and to develop, because they have those ongoing supports throughout the day, whether they're at school or at home. Um, it it plays a huge part in terms of values and beliefs. But like I said, sometimes family engagement can be a hindrance as well. And you have to make sure that not only is the vision shared amongst uh, the staff that's doing the work to turn things around, it's shared with the students who are actually in it and doing the work to try to improve themselves, but it also has to be shared with the family so that they know um, this is the why, and this is what we're trying to do, and this is the role that you play in it, and how you can help all of us collaborate and collectively be successful on that front. Um, so I think for sure, ongoing communication and bringing the family into the fold and having that engagement, where it can be something that is a continuous process once students are at home and away from school, is something that's an added benefit. Um, but all families are different, dynamics are different, and as long as students know that they have loving, caring adults who are advocates for them, who have those relationships, and who can show them, that they have the ability to do anything that they put their minds to, and that they have someone who's there to help lift and support them in doing so, they uh, the sky's the limit.
Mm,
So, um, you know,
thank you. So we've covered the why of the importance of let me say that a different way. So we covered why family engagement is important. Is now a good time to ask you about any specific strategies, maybe one or two that you've used in the
well, for
past?
sure, specific strategies is
Maybe just one would be
utilizing,
good.
you
Mhm.
know, what we do in terms of developing our teachers and bringing them um, up to speed in terms of best practices and what can be done to improve or hone their skills. We do the same for our students and having students have workshops, but also doing the same for parents, bringing them in and developing them and allowing for them to have an opportunity to talk to subject matter experts and seeing how they can take this information, these strategies, and what they can do at home. You know, as parents to help this entire movement in terms of improving and turning things around for students.
Mm. Sort of like a parent university or a parent education workshop.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, wow. Thank you. Thank you. So just there's only one of you and there'll never be another, but what advice would you give to school leaders to prepare to do turnaround work? So actually we want them to do it. A lot of them are doing the work, but we want them to be able to do it effectively.
Well, for sure, I think for school leaders, it's important to know that as a leader, that you are always a student as well. And
Mhm.
you have to um, put yourself in a position to learn and grow and develop on a continuous basis, being lifelong learners and learning. With the ever changing evolution of the educational realm, this whole field um, changes from day to day. And as all of you know, dealing with this pandemic and being in a space where no one has ever dealt with this type of educating students before. You have to be flexible. You have to be willing to bend, but you have to be strong. And um, I think in order to do this work, you for sure have to have a strong backbone because you are going to face many adversities, whether it be based on uh, the demographics of where you are, whether it is organizational issues, there are societal issues, race issues, financial, economic issues, all of those things that come into play when you are looking at turnaround work. But you have to be um, persistent. You have to be determined, and you have to know that the work takes time. Again, like I said, it can't be done alone. You definitely have to have a team, and you have to have the right team, but you have to have a vision that it can be done so that you can make it happen. It you have to prepare not only yourself, but you have to prepare the team members that are working alongside you, and you have to prepare the students uh, and make sure that they're well equipped with everything that is needed in order for them to be successful.
Thank you. So Principal King, I'm going to press you a little bit more because I know you have this vast body of knowledge and we're going to drill down to something very specific because
Okay.
you've learned so much. You're speaking at a global level,
Mhm.
but we're going to hone it down for the deans and assistant principals who are about to come into this position.
Okay.
So if I was an assistant principal or a dean and I'm about to become a turnaround principal, is there a book or maybe a course or something that you could recommend that I can maybe take to just kind of familiarize me with what I'm about to embark upon?
Absolutely. I would for sure recommend Maxwell's Leadership Bible. Take a look at that. There are so many different things that you're going to encounter. You have to know that there are a ton of resources and support materials that will help you in this field and lead you to do the work. But it all depends on your specific building, the population of students that you're serving, and all of those things are different. Like I said, there's no cookie cutter approach or one size fits all. It's going to be based on what you have right in front of you, and you have to have the ability to take a look at that, analyze it, use the data. As they say, data doesn't lie. You have to focus on what you have in front of you and see where those needs are and what you can do or what you can bring to the table in order to um, kind of put your playbook in place and just carry out those drills, those sequences that will allow for change to occur. And the approach has to be one where you are not only leading the work, but you are leading the movement of people doing the work. So it can't be from a standpoint of a dictatorship or someone who is telling everyone else, this is what you need to do. You have to be able to model that and show them what needs to be done and be willing to be amongst them while doing so.
Okay. So the golden line that I take from this is one, be flexible,
For
be a great
sure.
role model,
Yes,
know your stakeholders,
absolutely.
and know the data.
Yep, for
Okay.
sure.
All right.
For
I'm
sure.
learning here. Yeah.
And communicate that to all,
Communication.
yeah, for sure. The entire school community needs to understand and know on an ongoing basis um, what is actually happening, why you're doing what you're doing, and you know over communicate. That's the best way because there's an awareness then that allows for everyone involved to understand the entire movement and be a part of it and know their role and take ownership in it and have that collaboration so that it can be uh, a group effort amongst the leader, the instructors, the stakeholders within the school community, parents, students, everyone.
Wow. Thank you. So your last answer actually sets us up for a perfect segue to our final question.
Okay.
So how do you communicate your vision? Well, how do you prepare your staff and communicate your vision to them?
Well, preparing the staff is something that also takes place on an ongoing basis because you can share your vision and communicate that verbally. You can do it written. You can do it through a number of different avenues. And especially now with the integration of technology through social media and forms of communication such as that. But I think preparation of staff begins with proper professional development and making sure that what's needed in order for them to be able to do this work they have and they have the necessary training strategies and skill sets to make it happen. That professional development has to be on an ongoing basis because there are always changing trends within the field of education. In terms of best practices, they change on a daily basis, and what works today may not work tomorrow. So making sure that you have your staff abreast of all of the possibilities and making sure that they are equipped with that information and how to do so, uh, from their lens, I think is certainly a key component in terms of preparation. Um, Sharing that vision, like I said, over communicating and making sure that they are aware of, you know, what exactly is taking place, why it's happening, their role in doing so, and what the overall outcome is in terms of the expectation. So, you know, not only setting things up to start them uh, to be prepared, but keeping them prepared is for sure something that is necessary in order to turn things around.
Wow, thank you. So let me just think further. So as we're wrapping up on the end, actually was the last question, but what I want to do is just clearly my 7 to 8 questions I asked can't really capture the true breadth of all your knowledge and your experiences. But what I would like to know is there anything that you would like to share that maybe we missed? Just kind of a message to leaders out there doing turnaround work, especially during the pandemic, which has its own set of issues and trials, right?
Absolutely, that
Mhm.
is for sure. I think uh, the one thing that the pandemic has definitely shown educators is the fact that flexibility is something that is absolutely necessary, but um, to be able to shift on the drop of a dime, because this thing came down the pike and people had to shift from the traditional sense of learning and what they've known over many, many years to a virtual realm that they never really, participated in fully. And being able to shift and do that, you know, in a day's time, surely it stretched educators beyond their limits. It showed us that there are, um, you know, many alternative ways and forms of educating our students, that we have to always think outside of the box. And in terms of differentiation, this is the ultimate stance for that, where
Mm,
you have to take a look at, okay, well, how can I reach these students, even if I can't do it the way that I've always known how? And what's the best way, you know, to make things happen eh, under these constraints? And how do I communicate that to the parents? How do I, have this two-way communication with students? How do I grasp and understand whether or not they're mastering these concepts, and what do I need to do differently to make sure that they're successful in their learning? And I think as educators during this pandemic, we're still learning that on a daily basis. And I think for sure having professional collaboration time where educators can share successes and talk about those things that are working, and uplifting those best practices that have been beneficial or successful for students is something that is needed amongst educators right now. And I think, again, having that ongoing professional development allows for us to continue to hone our skills and learn new, innovative ways that we can, as educators, make sure that we are putting things in place to turn things and shift them where students can improve academically.
mm. So it sounds like never stop learning is the key.
Absolutely.
All right, keep growing.
Absolutely. Every day of your life.
There we go, just like we tell the students.
Yeah.
So, Principal King, that was our last question. So, I would like to personally offer a heartfelt thank you for your time and your wisdom and joining us on a Saturday afternoon when you could be doing many things that are important, but you chose this is a testimony to your commitment to the field and to the practice and growing and other educators as well. So, just thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you for having me anytime. I appreciate that.
And for those of you that just joined us, my name is Sean Fisher. I'm the proud CEO and owner of the Fisher Educational Group. And you are joining us for another episode of FECG TV, which is the Fisher Educational Group television channel, a YouTube channel for aspiring educators, current educators, and veteran educators. And this last segment, we've had turnaround principal, Mrs. Latoya Hall King, join us and share her wisdom about not just being a turnaround principal during the pandemic, but what it takes to be a good and effective turnaround principal, period. So thank you, and we look forward to you all joining us next Saturday. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. And thank you, Principal King.
Oh, thank you. Enjoy your afternoon.